Hi, folks. Thank you again for coming on to Back to Basics for Season 3. Today, we're going to speak with LaChelle Adkins. And today, we're going to not call her by that name. We're going to be calling her Supermom. She's an American supermom. And we'll tell you why when we get into the episode. But I'll give you a hint. We're all talking about motherhood today. So let's stop talking to me and let's go and speak with our guest today to get to know her better as to why is she called Supermom on Back to Basics. I'll see you there. Hi, folks. Thank you again for coming on to Back to Basics. You know, I've done all the intros, all the logistics about the superwoman that we're going to have, a super mom to be exact. Now, we've been friends for the longest time on a different platform called Clubhouse, and we chit chatted for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different topics. We will not get into that. But what we will get into is the motherhood, and that's what we're going to talk about. You know, motherhood is tough back in the days, and motherhood today is also tough. So what does that tell you? It's tough all over the place. Now the thing is, there are different challenges, all different centuries. So why don't we talk about this motherhood with this superwoman, or I should say super mom, on my platform finally after long time. So super mom, thanks for coming to Back to Basics.
I'm excited to be here. I have really enjoyed the conversations with you on LinkedIn audio. So I'm glad to be on video and to see you after all those phone calls. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you again. You know, I'm so honored that you're here, and we've been chatting for the longest time,
Hmm.
and finally we're seeing each other face to face, and finally you're here.
Yeah.
So whoever is listening right now on our show, there's a YouTube channel, so you can go there and watch us and make fun of each other, really. But before we do all the fun stuff that we're going to talk about, and I'm very excited about it. What does back to basic mean to you?
Well, I love this because I think, this is something that I try to tell my kids all the time. Is getting back to when things are simple. We can make things so complicated. And we've had a crash course in being back to basics, as far as I'm concerned, with the global pandemic. Being back to connecting with people, actively listening, taking time to slow down, really being thoughtful and present in the moment.
Mm.
So for me, back to basics is getting back to when things are simple and not making it complicated and having a lot of distractions and things on your plate. So that's what it means to me.
Yeah. Thank you again for answering that question, and thank you again for coming on my podcast to support the small podcast of mine. You know, let me ask you this.
We're going to say big podcast, okay?
Okay,
It's
okay.
growing. This is the third season. You
This
got to
is
pump
Thursday.
yourself up, right?
Pumping it up. Thank you so much. Thank you again for that. You know, let me ask you this, and
Hmm.
I'm surprised that you answered that question the way you answered it because you know nobody knows this, but you have 15 kids,
Yeah.
like to one five kids.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is not an easy job. And people, they freak out even with the first baby.
Yeah.
So, so let me ask you this. What was the motivation for the 15 kids? Is it because you always wanted a big family or you just wanted to be a multiple mothers for all, I guess, 15 parts?
Well, really, I was an only child. So I did want to have more than just one child. When my husband and I got married, we wanted five.
Hmm.
And they just kept coming. They were healthy. The Lord provided. We just prayed it through and they just kept coming. So we just kept going. So it wasn't that we were really intentional about it, but, I just had this conviction about birth control. I just felt it wasn't natural and everything. And so they just kept coming. Now, my maternal grandmother, who I spent a lot of summers with, she actually had 12 children.
Hmm.
So I think, she might have influenced a lot of, you know, what I had with having a big family. But that's pretty much it. It just really feeling like you had the right spouse and you enjoyed having children, raising them and coming together
Hmm.
for that. wonderful opportunity. It is an adventure. Every day is something new.
Mm,
But, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it does help you build your muscles. I'll put it
yeah,
like that.
no, no, it does. Thank you again for that. You know, as I said on my intro, things were different back then.
Mhm,
Back in the days, I don't know, 70s, 60s, 80s, times were different.
mhm.
Today's time is a little different. Maybe we lose patience,
Yeah.
or we have no patience for that
Mhm,
matter, right?
mhm.
So how does a motherhood kind of change over the years? Have you noticed some change over the years?
Well, I noticed that I am how's the word I wanna say? Because, patience does play a role,
Mm,
but I'm more patient with being able to explain things. When I was younger as a parent, it was just I don't know, it was you wanted the kids to learn it quickly. It was really being intentional about giving them a spanking, and it's just like change this behavior, a not non-negotiable about certain things.
mm,
But now the older I am, one, I might not have enough energy to be spanking anybody. But I'm more talkative into explaining why we have rules the way we do, and really collaborating in a conversation with my children and helping to explain things to them.
mm,
I noticed that my older kids don't have patience.
mm.
So if I'm talking to them about, a punishment or something, my older kids are like, we just got a spanking when we were little. We didn't have this talking and all this other stuff. So, it has been a difference.
So, you brought up a great point. Spanking meaning punishment, meaning not in a abusive way,
Right.
in a explaining way, right? And back in the day, so if you do that today, you're gonna get a call from a 911 saying that my mom or my dad is doing this, right? I mean, things are a little different now, right?
Hmm.
So, do you think kids nowadays are more vocal than ever before? Do you think?
Definitely. Yeah, they have a lot of access to information, but they don't have wisdom.
Hmm,
So this is the problem. They are able to rattle things off. They might know you know, what they want in their favor, but they don't understand the process that things have to go through. It's like, you look at social media and you see somebody who goes from 100 friends to 1,000 in
hmm,
a couple of weeks. And so they don't understand, is it real?
hmm,
Right?
hmm,
What is going on behind the scenes? So it's so funny. My daughter, one of my daughters, she's 22. Last year, during the pandemic, we were still kind of on lockdown a little bit. We did a reels challenge with each other. So, we did it where we had to do these reels every day for 30 days. She didn't really know about reels. I didn't either.
hmm,
And so just doing that challenge, she was like, Mom, this is hard because every day we would have to do a reel before the end of the day. And
hmm,
so doing that for 30 days and realizing you're just going to put it out there, or you're going to spend an hour
hmm,
trying to fine tune this reel, when tomorrow you got to do something different, and
hmm,
seeing what resonates with people. So I think it's a lot of these kids don't understand that. They look at what they see as a finished product and they think they can just decide that's what they want and have it tomorrow.
hmm. Yeah, thank you again for that. I'm pretty sure whoever's listening right now, they really want to know this, don't they? Is who's the eldest and who's the youngest, right? And what are the age differences between the 15?
Okay. So the oldest is 33, and he is married and has two children. And then the youngest is 9. So we don't have any multiples. We have 9 girls, 6 boys, and everybody is like 18 to 20 months apart.
Hmm.
So
Wow,
we got
amazing.
9, 11, 13, all the way up to 33.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you again for explaining that. I'm pretty
And
sure people
10 that still live at home. Yeah.
well, I'm pretty sure they will be. They have to be, you know? Uh, so let me ask you this, right? And now, be real. On the American average folks, when they have one kid, right, and
Mhm.
they're all working and they're sending their kid to daycare, and the average
Mhm.
daycare per year is 15 to 17,000 for the year. In this
Mhm.
case, obviously there was no daycare, so someone had to stay at home, obviously,
Yeah.
right? Or something must have happened, right? So
Mhm.
how does a budgeting happen when someone stays home and with one income coming in? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, we really we look back and we're like, we look at our tax returns and we're like, how in the heck did we do it? Right. Over time. Of course my husband was the only breadwinner because we both met in college. I got my degree in marketing, but the kids kept coming, and I was an only child where my mom was an entrepreneur, and so she wasn't able to go on field trips or class parties and things like that, so I didn't want that for my kids.
Hmm.
So we thought it would be good for me to stay home with them. I could be involved and engaged in field trips and things like that. So it was definitely a experience, really prioritizing what's important, what's not important. We forego a lot of things when it came to, material things. However, we love to travel with the kids. We would take, family vacations. We would drive everywhere, but we would do things to expose our kids to different parts of the world. And just let them know that we didn't want the family size to hinder them for their dreams and aspirations. We
Hmm.
didn't want them to feel like, oh, I got a bunch of brothers and sisters and, I can't dream. So, we had our oldest daughter at one point. She did horseback riding. We had some who did soccer and, whatever they wanted to pursue, they were able to pick like one thing
Hmm.
and we would give them the opportunity. We have one who was into acting and I mean, just a number of stuff. So we let
Hmm.
them lead whatever their interest or passion was.
Hmm.
And we just worked to make it happen.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you again. The more and more you talk about this topic right here, it sounds like that it's gonna get expensive.
Hmm.
Because you're talking about different skill sets that everyone has. Maybe the
Hmm.
one person is gonna be really intelligent, so he or she needs to go to certain tutoring for that, right? And or
Hmm.
special school for that, or cell phones. I mean, you got 15 cell phones for each individual.
Well, they
You
don't
got
get their cell phone till
no,
they get to be 13, but that
no,
is something they look
but that
forward
is
to.
something to look into, right? Because
Hmm.
now, so where do you draw that line when it comes to budgeting and with one income and you know a $5 bread versus $5 t-shirt? How do you make the prioritization as to what comes first and what comes second? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we just really have them involved. So, like our oldest, who's 33,
Hmm.
while other kids were trying to get their driver's license, he was getting a pilot's license.
Hmm.
So we had him in pilot school and everything. He got a full ride scholarship to college to Embry Riddle, which is a um, college in Florida.
Hmm.
And he went there. After 1 year, he decided it wasn't for him.
Hmm.
I don't know what it was, but he wanted to go to California and pursue acting. So
Hmm.
he left the school and he went to pursue his acting career. So he did that, roughed it, did what he wanted to do, got married, and now he is really into computers and marketing. He has his own plane. He has a hangar, that he's got for his plane. He has taken his kids. They went in December and they stayed for 3 months in Australia. So one of his clients had him over there doing some work, and the whole family got to go. So they were able to fly in a private jet, my grandsons, uh, all over Australia. They went to New Zealand. And I mean, so, I think it's just really engaging them in their goals and aspirations and finding a way where you can meet them where they are. You
Hmm.
know, you don't have to pay for everything. They come up with their own ideas, getting sponsors or whatever, or different work that they could do to kind of add to the pool, so to speak, of whatever the expenses are. But
Mm,
I think really helping them to have a voice, but also sitting down and talking to them about what the costs are. They
mm.
may say, "Oh, okay, I don't want to get allowance, because I want to use my allowance towards whatever." So, just engaging them in that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And before we go to the next topic, there's a new segment we started on season 3 for Back to Basics, which is the rapid fire round. In
Okay.
this rapid fire round, there's some words or sentences, whatever pops in your head, we'll just go from there. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, so I hope I don't challenge you a lot. Okay. So, so the first one is going to be 15 versus 12 versus 5. Which one would you pick?
15 versus 12 versus 5.
I'll explain it to you what that
Okay.
means. Okay, it means
Do
that
I
you have.
just Okay,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. Pick.
I'm gonna say 15.
Okay. Uh, I'll explain it to you after when we're done. The next
Okay.
one is going to be patience.
Um, Love,
Okay. Negotiation.
non-judgment,
Punishment.
discipline,
Wisdom.
observant,
Budgeting.
finances,
Income.
value,
Taxes.
requirement,
Allowance.
mm, reward,
Sponsorship.
leadership,
Motherhood.
family,
Supermom.
collaboration,
And the last one is going to be back to basics.
comfort.
Comfort. Yeah, thank you for playing the rapid fire round for season 3 for back to basics there. The reason why I asked you about the 15 versus 12 versus 5, 15, you understood what the 15 stands for. 5 actually means that you were planning to make that 5. And
Mm.
12 is, I guess the 12 was the reasoning of, go ahead, say it. I think you have an idea.
From my grandmother.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So if you had a choice between the three, which one do you pick? I guess you have no choice now, but which one would you pick?
I would pick the 15, and I think it's really profound because you can get to 10, 11. I really have a lot of gratitude for my younger kids
Hmm,
because it could have been so easy for me to stop,
hmm.
you know? So I just, yeah, I definitely would be 15.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you again for being a sport on Back to Basics with the rapid fire round. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
Obviously, we've talked about budgeting, we've talked about income, we've not even talked about the housing part of things.
Yeah.
How does that housing thing work? Because obviously the square footage is going to be massive for all these 15 folks, right? Or do you just put them in the dungeon and you're good to go? So,
Right. Well,
so
they share
explain that to me.
bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah, so they share bedrooms. We have a couple of them that have their own room. They're older, but they share bedrooms. We've got bunk beds. So yeah, you know, um, we do have a lot of open spaces where we can still recreate as a family. So
Hmm.
we've got like a downstairs area where you can have company. We have, our living room. We have like a area that's like a den that has a fireplace. We have a kind of a extended dining room area. So you have that. So we have a lot of places where, believe it or not, they really gravitate to each other a
Hmm.
lot. They enjoy being together. And the sleeping part is like, hey, you just go to your separate area.
Of course, of
So
course.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you again for that. You know, people, I'm pretty sure people must be wondering about the house spaces, and that's why I asked that question.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this here. what would you change in anything with your decisions with the 15 kids that you had? Would you change anything? Something different? Maybe more income, more space, more fun, more family space. I mean, what do you would you change anything?
I think I would probably be more um patient. I really spend a lot of time with my kids. And so I really don't regret any of their growing up. I was always very verbal with them. Even when they were young, when they started talking, they talked in sentences. I never did that goo goo gaga talk. I do the
Right.
same with my grandchildren. So I think maybe just slowing down and being a little bit more patient,
Mm,
because I remember when they started walking, you'd be glad when they're walking, but then, before you know it, they're running, and it just goes so fast.
mm,
So if I would probably be a little bit more patient, um, and because not everything I taught all of them.
mm,
There were older siblings that taught younger ones how to tie their shoes. Some of them
mm,
taught each other how to ride a bike, so I would just be I remember our youngest was riding the bike. This was during the pandemic. She's 9 now, but she was older when she learned how to ride. But
mm,
I was just outside going to the car. I was going to the store for something and they were outside playing, and she was riding the bike, and I was thinking it was the other child. And then I thought, stopped for a minute, and I was like, "You know how to ride a bike?" And she was like, "Yeah, mom. Faith taught me." And I was like, "Wow." So that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying that they were self-taught, and then you were
Hmm.
just there, I guess, managing, or
Yeah,
I guess like a supervisor, not really.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's really great when they help each other out because
Yeah.
things are different now because people they or I should say kids they don't share too much. But I think when the family teaches each other to
Hmm.
share, I think that becomes a great family, doesn't it? So thank
Yeah.
you for explaining that. Now, how is it different from motherhood today's world? Have you seen how, I don't know, is it better now or is it worse now? Or you think that times have changed a little?
I think they've changed quite a bit.
Okay.
Um, I think, it's very fear driven.
Mm,
And it's very so many distractions.
mm,
It's a lot of information that kids are given, like I said, without wisdom.
mm,
So, you have parents that are working and sometimes they don't have time to really make sure that their kids are understanding some of the things that they're exposed to.
mm,
And so it's harder now. Everybody is chasing so many things, the newest social media platform or how many likes they get. And, it's very materialistic driven. This is just what I've noticed.
mm,
We have one of our sons, this is around Christmas time. He's asking us for some shoes that cost $800.
mm,
And I was like, look, I said, this is great. I said, that is so good that you have those aspirations. I said, so what are you going to get me? For
mm,
Christmas,
mm,
because it's value for value.
mhm,
So if you want me to buy you a $800 pair of shoes, are you going to get me something from Dollar Tree or something?
mm,
Because he's not working, right? And
mm,
so I'm like, why would I give you something of so much more value? And you're not the only sibling that I'm buying gifts for. So
right.
why would I spend 800 on you and then I'm not spending that much on everybody?
Mm,
I mean, you're asking what I would spend on everybody on one person because we
mm,
really don't go all out for Christmas. We celebrate their birthdays, and that's when we kind of go over the top. Matter of fact, we have a daughter who is her birthday's tomorrow. So
oh,
she's asked for a spread for Thanksgiving. So I've got to do a lot of cooking tomorrow
mm,
because we usually have pizza. That's the one time that we eat, during the week, celebrating a birthday with pizza. So she didn't want that. She wants a Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah, and I've not even touched that topic as of yet, too. That,
Hmm.
there's birthdays, there's Thanksgiving, there's every other holidays that we have not even talked about and how to manage that. And I'm pretty sure, well, it has to be, right? Because there are 15 kids, their
Hmm.
birthdays are going to overlap somewhere, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So how does that manage? And I think you answered that question. So thank you again for that.
Yeah, so
So,
we have every month except for August. And I said, that was a blessing, but August is back to school. So that's when we got to buy for everybody. So
hmm.
it's every month there's something going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you again for explaining that. So before you leave today, how
Hmm.
was your journey on Back to Basics? And do you have any last words to all the listeners and viewers, plus the mothers who are listening on this episode today?
Well, I have really enjoyed my time here on Back to Basics, and I love the conversation around slowing down, getting back to what matters and what's important. I think many moms, we want the best for our children and we want to be successful for ourselves as well. And my advice would be to slow down and include your children and family in your goals and aspirations. I recently wrote my first solo book. I've been a part of 5 different book projects, and this is my book. It's like a guided journal, but it has a soundtrack included with 2 of my children. So I think it's important to, as you um, reach for certain goals, to make sure that your family's involved so that they can celebrate with you.
Mm,
Being an only child for myself, I did a lot of celebrating. I had a lot of material things, but I had no one to share them with.
mm,
So I am very, I love being able to share things that I have with other people. And I think it's the greatest joy to include your family in that. And you don't have to do it alone.
mm.
Collaborate with people. Don't feel like you have to compete. And the right people will be attracted to you and you'll be successful.
Mm. Yeah, thank you again for being here, and thank you for sharing all the nuggets about motherhood. And it seems like maybe we're not really talking about motherhood too much, but I think it needs to be talked out, and that's why I brought you here, because I think you are a great example of motherhood, which I've seen.
Oh,
Okay, people, they talk about one kid, two kids, maybe five kids, but we're talking managing your time and your entrepreneurship life, and then managing the 15 kids, plus your self care, which we have not even talked about. So, but thank you again for being here, because every time I talk to you, you're always smiling. So, thank you again for that.
oh. Well, thank you so much for having me. It
Thank
has
you.
been a pleasure.
Thank you. So, guys, we spoke with our super mom, didn't we? And we talked about the basics of motherhood. We talked about the struggles. We talked about the happiness. Well, if you really listen to her, there were no major struggles. There was just planning things out, and they were always happy no matter what. They managed it out just like every other mother would, or I should say, every family would. Now, just last week, we just went over motherhood, or I should say, Mother's Day. And today, we're speaking to a real life mother this week. And I just wanted to go and celebrate all mothers around the world. And thank you for all the hard work that you all have been giving to the kids. Now, as usual, as always, there's a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully my guest will like the quote. The quote is, sometimes the strength of the motherhood is the greater than natural laws. Now, it is really, right? Because have you noticed that when you get a cut in your finger, the first word that comes out is mom. So it's the same process, right? So it's a nature of law. No one really calls it dad. I don't know why. That's a separate story altogether. But as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. We're almost done with season 3, and stay tuned for next week. I'll see you. Bye bye. So, how was that for you?
That was nice. I had fun. So
Awesome.
many things that we could have said, but I know it's just not enough time to fit it all in, right?
Why? What else do you want her to say? You want to have 16?
My husband does that to people. He's like, "Did you tell him we're expecting
Hi, guys.
again?"
Thank you again for tuning in to Back to Basics and listening to the excellent episode that we had today with our guest. You know, with your love and support, we do need you to at least rate our show, review our show, because it does make us stronger day by day, week by week, as I usually say on my episodes. And there are three things in this episode that it makes a hit for me, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. So guys, take care, God bless, and remember, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and see you next time on Back to Basics.